What if you could improve your cognitive performance so drastically that you could make more progress toward your goals in the next week than you've made in the past 3 months? Well, the science shows you can, and I've built a system to help my clients at selfmastery.co do exactly that. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact system both me and my clients use to get 1 week of work done in 1 day, and in turn make more progress in 7 days than most people make in 3 months. And look, this isn't going to be just another productivity or self-improvement video telling you to do deep work. No. Instead, I'm going to fix 2 problems that limit your ability to focus, stick to your schedule, get more done faster, and that ruin your ability to make good decisions and think clearly. All things that determine your rate of progress. And I can promise you that you've likely never heard anyone else talk about them in a YouTube video. So what's the first problem you need to solve to make more progress in 1 week than most people make in 3 months? Well, for it to make sense, you need to understand the concept of cyclical loading. So imagine a ship sailing through the vast oceans of the world, and stick with me, okay, this will make sense in a minute. Well, out in the oceans, there are times where the water is calm, and there are times where there are storms battering the ship. Of course, the ship is built to handle the storms and it can manage fine, but each time it faces a storm it gets slightly beat up and it takes on a bit of water that the crew has to work hard to repair and manage. With a single storm this isn't a problem. But if the ship encounters too many storms in a quick succession, or if they encounter a massive storm, the crew can't keep up with the damage or the water that the ship's taken on, and so the ship becomes heavier, it becomes slower, and it makes it harder to stay afloat. If this isn't dealt with, the ship will eventually sink. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ross, what on earth does this have to do with making more progress? Well, let me explain, okay? That ship is you. The ocean is your life and business, and the damage the ship takes on from the storm represents your level of allostatic load from stress. Now, hold on. Most people don't actually understand what stress really is. Stress isn't just a conventional stressful moment, it's anything difficult that pushes your mind or body in a challenging way. Now, this can become quite paradoxical because most people think stress is bad, it's a negative, but you in fact are built to handle stress. As humans, we don't only require it to grow, but we actively seek it out. As Dostoevsky said, shower on him every blessing, drown him in a sea of happiness, give him economic prosperity such that he should have nothing else to do but sleep, eat cakes, and busy himself with the continuation of the species, and even then, out of sheer ingratitude, sheer spite, man would play you some nasty trick. As a human, we don't like doing nothing, okay? As much as we may think we want to sit there and scroll TikTok all day and take it easy, we don't want a hedonistic lifestyle, okay? We feel crap, we feel unfulfilled, we feel depressed, we feel anxious. We want challenge, we want stress, and we want adventure. We want to dedicate ourselves, aim ourselves towards something that is worth doing. But in this pursuit of doing something worth doing, for example, building your business, you get stressed. Now remember, stress is good. Stress is what causes us to grow. Think of the gym. You literally stress and tear your muscles in an effort for them to grow. This is how stress works in every area of life. But this stress adds up and adds up, building your allostatic load, which is essentially just how much stress your body is carrying. And although stress is good, without the chance to repair, your allostatic load keeps rising and rising and rising until eventually it ruins your mental clarity, thought processes, and ability to focus, all of which mean you get less done, to a lower quality, and end up making less progress. Look, most people fall into 2 camps. They either never increase their allostatic load and hence their mind and body have no reason to improve, and so they don't grow, they don't achieve their goals. Or they load, and rarely unload, which if you look at a lot of people, especially a lot of ambitious people, you'll notice that their actions are chaotic, they're scattered, they don't make progress, and quite frankly, they don't enjoy their lives. This is because they don't reduce their allostatic load, and the stimulus of stress builds up to a point where it is negative. And that line between stress being positive and negative is very, very fine. It's a very thin line. But if you want to make more progress in 1 week than most people make in 3 months, you need to find this line, this edge, and you need to live there. You need to find the level of stress that forces you to focus better, do more faster, grow and improve without the negatives. And the way you do that is through cyclical loading. You load, unload, because look, if you have big ambitions, if you have big goals for your business and you want to operate at peak performance, you have to realize that stress is inevitable. In fact, like I said earlier, we will seek it out. But stress is not a negative if you manage your allostatic load. It's a requirement to operate at a higher level and to grow. However, you do want to manage it so that you can think more clearly, make better decisions, get more done, and make more progress. So how can you use cyclical loading to optimize your performance? Well, there's two timescales. You can work in seasons. This is actually what people do with monk mode. They don't realize it, but they work their ass off for a few months and let their allostatic load build a ton. The problem with this, however, is that the rebound after is often so devastating to any progress you made during monk mode that you basically made none. You're actually much better managing your allostatic load on a smaller time scale on a daily or even a weekly schedule. So think about it, your allostatic load builds through stress or challenge on the mind and body. This is the loading, and so to manage it and unload, we want to de-stress the mind and body, preferably on a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis so that it doesn't build up to a negative level that ruins your performance and in turn the progress that you make. And there's 4 things we want to do this. Well, there's actually a few more, but I'll cover them in a few minutes when we go over the second problem that's ruining your ability to make insane progress. But anyway, the first thing is exercise and movement, okay? This is slightly paradoxical because training stresses the mind and body, but it also forces the release of endorphins, improves blood flow, clears out toxic waste, and in the end, de-stresses the body. The second is sleep. Sleep is the #1 performance enhancer. If you want to manage your allostatic load, you need to optimize it now. I have an entire video on how to optimize your sleep, so I will link it at the end of this one. The third is meditation. Look, your mind is constantly being stimulated, either through work or social media. It doesn't get a chance to just do nothing. So give it a break. Sit in silence and let it process everything. All you need is 10 minutes focused on your breath every day. The fourth is a sauna. Now, this isn't essential at all, but if there is a sauna near you, I would recommend using it because of not only its ability to reduce inflammation and remove toxicity from the body, but it's an amazing time to meditate. There's so many health benefits from it. And it's amazing for de-stressing and clearing out your allostatic load. So once you understand cyclical loading and how to use it to improve your potential to get more done and make more progress, you can work on solving this second problem, which is just as important for improving your focus, your productivity, and even your discipline so that you can get more done and make more progress than you even thought was possible. But to understand it, I want you to imagine you were trying to juggle, okay? Again, stick with me, it'll make perfect sense in a minute. If you're juggling 1 or 2 things, it's no problem, right? It's pretty easy. But as you add more things to juggle, you have to focus on more and more things. You split your attention and you make it harder. And here's the thing, everything you have to juggle opens a loop in your mind that uses cognitive bandwidth as your mind has to divert some energy to focusing on it so it doesn't lose track of it, okay? But here's the problem. Your mind only has a limited amount of cognitive bandwidth, and so the more loops you have open in your mind, the more you're spread thin, the more your mind is pushed to its limits, and the harder it becomes to focus, be disciplined, be productive, and make progress. And your cognitive load skyrockets. Now, what is your cognitive load? Well, understand this. You essentially have 2 types of memory, okay? You have your long-term memory, where things are stored in the cerebral cortex of your mind for later, and you have your working memory, where the things you're actively trying to remember and think through are stored or compartmentalized through multiple parts of your brain, primarily though this happens in the prefrontal cortex. So your cognitive load is essentially the amount of information that your working memory can process. The more things you're juggling, the more loops you have open, the harder it is for your working memory to actively access a relevant part of the working memory and use that information effectively in doing the work to a high quality, productively, effectively, and efficiently. And the more complex the things you're trying to juggle are, for example, projects in your business, tasks, systems, etc., the more memory it takes up. And as your effort in terms of using working memory increases, your performance will stay high until eventually it's too much and your performance drops. Now, most entrepreneurs are operating at a really high level of cognitive bandwidth being used up, trying to juggle hundreds of things at once, and it's causing their performance to be down here, not up here. Your working memory is maxed out. Your cognitive load is overloaded, and hence your thinking, decision making, clarity, productivity, discipline and focus are shot. You're not going to be consistent, reliable or predictable, and in turn your life and business are chaotic and overwhelming. And so if you want to make more progress in 1 week than most people make in 3 months, you need to minimize your cognitive load so that you can free up your mental bandwidth for focusing on work that matters and doing that work to as high a quality as possible. So how can you do that? Well, you want to only use the working memory that you need. And there's a few things you can do for this. One is schedule your days the night before. If you schedule your day every morning, you're creating decisions that not only could have been made the day before, but also could have been easier to make. When you plan your day in the morning, you're more attached to how you schedule it because you realize you're choosing to do that thing now, today, and so you plan it in a less optimal way. You plan it in an easier way with lower friction, more instant gratification, and you're more likely to put off the hard tasks that actually matter. Whereas if you schedule it the night before, you're detached. Plus, this way you can just wake up and follow the schedule. You don't have to think about it or waste time doing it, what you're doing or when, you just follow the schedule. The second thing is to have a 3 to 5 task to-do list. Look, almost every business can be run on 3 tasks. A task to generate traffic, a task to close clients, and a task to fulfill clients. If you're not working on these 3 tasks directly, building systems for them, or hiring others to do them for you, you're wasting your time. Every elite entrepreneur will tell you this. They will tell you to focus on what matters, ignore everything else, and this is how you do it. You say no to 99% of tasks and focus on those 3 things at least until you have a team to handle them for you, and then your priorities can change. And this way, instead of having a 20 task to-do list with 20 loops open using tons of cognitive bandwidth, you have 3 tasks and only 3 loops open, meaning you have so much more mental bandwidth. 3, no multitasking. Look, this should be obvious, it shouldn't need said, but remember, everything you juggle opens a loop. That loop uses cognitive bandwidth. So only have 1 loop open, working in deep work and focus blocks on 1 task at a time. 4, I think it's 4. Crap, I've lost count. The next one is hard cutoff times. Choose a time each evening to stop working. This way you get time to decompress and your mind gets some lower stimulation time and can wind down for sleep to improve sleep quality so that you have maximum energy and can attack tomorrow and make as much progress as possible, be as productive as possible, and enjoy your day as much as possible. The next one is no notifications. Notifications are one of the most common ways to max out your cognitive load. If you're working on a task and your phone is buzzing every 5 minutes or your laptop is buzzing every 5 minutes, it is a signal to your brain that, oh, okay, something else needs dealt with, and it's using your working memory, building your cognitive load, and plus it'll also distract you from the task that you're doing. So turn off your damn notifications. What are you, a child who needs to know when someone likes your Instagram? Turn them off, okay? The next one is singular goals. The idea of loops doesn't only apply to tasks, but also to goals. If you're trying to chase 5 different goals or build 5 different businesses, you're opening 5 massive loops that will always be in the back of your mind. It's a recipe for not only ruining cognitive and allostatic load, but also ensuring you achieve none of the goals you've set, because the more you split your focus, the more you're trying to actively remember, the less effort you put into each, the less progress you make, the more likely you are to fail. Now, here's the cool part. If you do all of these principles, if you follow them all, you'll manage your allostatic and cognitive loads, allowing you to make decisions and take actions in a consistent, reliable, and predictable way so that you can get more done to a higher quality in less time and make more progress in 1 week than in 3 months. And I am not joking. But of course, there's one last area we need to cover to ensure all of this is possible for you, and that's to optimize your sleep, because I can guarantee you that there's a few mistakes you're making that are ruining your sleep quality and impacting your energy and business. So check out this video here and I'll show you how to fix them.